Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. It's Redneck here, Brian Breaux, joined by the mean one, Chet Martin.
What's wrong with making America great again?
I don't know. And the fearless one, CV Berton.
Good day.
Oh, yeah. I gotta tell you, it's time. It is time to stop this onslaught of evil that is going around this country and around this world that we live in.
Unreal.
It is time. Let me tell you something. It's Sunday. For all you that believe in Jesus, all of those that you go to church and have a belief in a higher power, listen, Islam is hate. Islam is evil. Christianity is love. Christianity is right. That's the bottom line. If you believe in Islam, if you're a Muslim, you believe in evil. Hate to tell you that, and if you don't like it, turn the dial. I'm sick and tired of hearing about these stories, and what I'm talking about is over in the UK. In
Germany.
Germany, over in Europe, they had a migrant who beheaded his 1-year-old daughter and killed his girlfriend in a train station. And there is video showing the aftermath.
Yep.
People crying in the train station. Go look it up. Of course, Angela Merkel stopped the news media from reporting on it.
Yeah.
I wonder why. I'm sure she didn't want to offend any Muslims. She didn't want any riots and them to burn her city down.
The aftermath of the video is sick. You can hear a man saying they cut the baby's head off. And when you look in the train station, you can see the bodies laying there with blood. As he ran off.
And not just blood, but you could tell it was like, there was splatter.
It was like a river of blood.
Well, when you behead a child, according to eyewitnesses, the 33-year-old suspect, Mortala Madhu, beheaded his 1-year-old daughter in front of a horrified crowd as commuters at Jungerstein station on Thursday, April 12th, and then stabbed his German girlfriend, the mother of the child.
It's crazy that this is just coming out now.
Yeah, I know.
Because I'm sure it took time because they censored this.
It was censored.
And they censored
was in
it,
April.
and it took time for it to get out. It's just crazy that
that's
it took
the part
that
of it.
much.
Some people are probably listening saying, "Wait, April?" Yeah, because it was buried.
Yep,
just like they buried Tommy Robinson.
Exactly
the same thing. And this is so he allegedly stabbed the infant from behind. Now, I'm sorry, you folks and you good liberals have to listen to these details because this is why we have ICE. This is why Donald Trump put in a travel ban. While she was sitting in her stroller and then severed her neck, he then allegedly stabbed his girlfriend in the chest before fleeing the scene, dumping the murder weapon in a train station trash can. He was later arrested. The woman, who is a mother of 4 other children, died at the hospital after her injuries. Video footage has been uploaded to the internet, which we just watched before we started the show, showing the aftermath and the brutal, senseless double murder that was described as very targeted. Now, all this that's going on to the poor citizens in Germany and throughout Europe is being buried. And this is why we're fighting in this country right now. This is why we have shows like this. This is why we elected the president we elected. This is why we talk about America first, because we don't want this coming to this country, which it already is.
Oh, it already has. We've had beheadings here. You had it out in Oklahoma.
Absolutely. Workplace violence, right? Workplace violence. That's what they tried to call it.
Yep.
And he was a Muslim that dragged in black ISIS clothing featured on the internet, and we saw it.
And that was during the Obama administration. And Merkel is a lot like Obama because they both are trying to surrender their nations to Islam. They are subversive to their own country. They are treasonous and they are traitors, and they're trying to take over their own country from the enemies without. And so they rise to high office, and they become the leaders, and they bring in all these refugees and all these Muslims, and then they try to hide the truth about what they're doing. Under the Obama administration, those horrible 8 years, there were a lot of terrorist attacks in this country by Islamists, and now that Trump has taken over here, you see less Islamic terrorism and more liberal leftist terrorism, like Antifa. You notice this? You notice the shift?
There has been a
shift.
shift.
Step forward, right? Because there was a stop put to the Islamic terrorism, and now it's the leftist terrorism.
Somewhat. We just had a guy that was arrested. Let's not forget that, in Ohio.
Yeah,
and the one thing that does concern me, and something that you, ladies and gentlemen listening, should actually pay attention to, and that's how Michigan and Minnesota are being taken over, town by town, very methodically, town by town. City council, town boards, one after another, becoming fully Muslim.
Oh, wait till we...
Okay? And that is where the heart... And it's no surprise that it's the center of this country. I mean, it literally is in the middle of the country on the northern border. And it's by no surprise. I'm telling you, it's by design.
Brian, I was the one that first played the video for you guys, and you turned your head away and said, I can't watch this. For those of you out there that are listening to this and think that we're promoting fake news, it is not fake.
Go watch it.
And if you have the balls, go watch it. All you have to do is type in German Muslim immigrant beheads daughter, and it'll come up right with it. But the person that caught it was a Christian gospel singer. He captured the footage on his cell phone, and you can hear him saying, "Oh my God, it's unbelievable. Oh my God. Oh Jesus, oh Jesus, oh Jesus. They cut off the head of that baby. They cut off the baby's head. Oh my God, oh Jesus." What do I don't understand where the ideology from the left comes from. Are they just evil? Do they just want to destroy destroy Western civilization? Or are they just misinformed? Or is it a combination of both?
I don't know.
It's a mental disorder.
Ask Benedict Arnold what inspired him.
Don't talk about Barack Obama that way.
No, but you'll understand why we're so angry, because we all looked at this video and we're just... we're just... The blood is just drained from our faces.
Yeah, I couldn't watch it. You know what I mean? Like, when I was younger, remember the Many Faces of Death videos?
Yeah.
And I mean, and they weren't... I mean, some of them were very graphic. I mean, some of them were like, somebody being swarmed by bees and killed. But it was just like, you're glorifying death.
Yeah,
and it's just something. It's hard to look at when you're looking at a 1-year-old.
Well, they've been keeping this story under, and German authorities have also been ordered to clamp down on the independent bloggers that are sharing this footage. That's how we got the footage that comes back from April. That's why. Now listen, we're coming down. We've got a minute to go, so I can't really get more into this. But it's just, if you folks don't wake up, I don't know what to tell you. Keep letting them flood them into Connecticut and Long Island. Great ideas.
Yeah.
You don't think they're coming in here? They are.
Oh, it's happening. It's definitely happening. Listen, when we come back, we are going to be talking about the Supreme Court nominee, Amy Coney Barrett, being criticized for her Catholic faith. That is what the left, that's their litmus test of whether or not you can be a Supreme Court judge. Not your record. Not how you've ruled on cases that you have presided over for many, 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 many years. No, it's what is your faith? Don't turn the dial. This is Freedom on Deck. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, WJJF, rocking your dial on a Sunday. We're going to talk about the Supreme Court and really more about how Congress and the Senate nominate Supreme Court justices, or should I say confirm, not nominate. But it's interesting that their litmus test, what they put somebody through the gauntlet on is their faith. For those of you, it's Sunday. We've kind of been talking about that. It's been a little bit of a theme started here on today's show. But faith. That's what they want to talk about. Not about your record, not about how many years you've served on the bench, not about the cases that you've ruled on, not about the way you've ruled on those cases and the subject matter of those cases, but on your faith. Well, you're a Catholic. So, you can't like gays, right?
Right.
I mean, you can't be going against bakers. I mean, because you're a Catholic. I mean,
how dare you?
Birth control, that's out the window.
Right.
Yeah, because she hasn't ruled according to the law her whole career.
Well, who are we talking about here?
We are talking about Amy Barrett. That's who we're talking about. And she is one of the nominees. She's actually one of the top. And I really think that come Monday, tomorrow, she is going to be the one nominated, is my belief.
I do too.
Because if he does Lee, I will probably throw my phone across somebody's yard tomorrow when I find out.
What the Democrats are doing, though, Brian, is they're being obstructionists.
Of course.
They're willing to go resist. That's their theme. Resist at every move that Donald Trump makes. Even though she's a good candidate. She really is. And they're not going to repeal Roe versus Wade. They're not going to put blacks back in chains, which is some of the wild things that I've heard on MSNBC. They've actually said that. And, it was an arm of the NAACP on Monday that falsely accused her of ruling against a black worker in a discrimination claim. What the NAACP said, as a judge, Amy Conant Barrett sided against a black worker in favor of a company's separate but equal arrangement, flying in the face of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Now she's being considered for a lifetime seat in our nation's highest court. Now, it came back that was just an absolute lie. There's no truth to that at all.
Of course.
So you're going to have different progressives coming out and trying to block this woman.
They already said that no matter who he nominates, they're going to throw everything, including the kitchen sink, at her or him. And even if they have to make something up, they're going to throw it at them. And how is faith pertinent to the situation, to being a judge? Where in the Constitution does it say you cannot be a Christian and a judge at the same time? Wasn't this country built on Judeo-Christian principles?
It was. They don't like hearing that, though. You know that.
Yeah.
They hate that. You throw that in their face and they say, well, it's, the country's changing. First of all, our Constitution is living, breathing. And I'm sick of hearing about that. I've heard about that all week. But, can you imagine if he nominated Ted Cruz? Or you want to really, stoke the fire? I mean, Donald Trump could. If he really wanted to troll them, he could do that. He could even just put them up there as nominees and say, yeah, I'm thinking about Ted. We've had a lot of discussions and I'm thinking about Ted Cruz. And see how their heads explode once he says that.
But he has to vet these nominees very carefully before he puts one up. He has to have people look into their backgrounds himself, because if they find any dirt at all, if he nominated Ted Cruz, for example, it's going to be like, oh, he had an affair with this woman, he had an affair with that woman, he's this and that, and blah, 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 blah.
Well, they do that anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't think that the Trump administration does that? I mean, of course they have to.
It just shows that Amy Barrett is squeaky clean. If all they can go after her for is being a Christian, oh boy, what a crime.
Well, they tried to, like I just said, this fake news that came out of the NAACP, which I'm reading from the Free Beacon. It's just something that they threw against the wall and hoped it would stick. Because some people hear it and they won't see the rebuttal, or they won't go to the conservative sites that give the rebuttal. Right. So it'll just stay in their head, and that's what they'll base this pick on. Well,
listen, a good listener to the Lee Elsey show during the week, Dale, he was talking on Friday, and and he was saying, I'm sorry, not Friday, but Saturday. He was saying on Rocky's show about not choosing Lee and these other things, and how he doesn't want a senator. And it was actually a great conversation because he is right, and I got to give that to Dale because something. The last time it happened was like 19 something. It was early in the 20th century.
What, that they picked a senator for the Supreme Court? That they
nominated a senator for the Supreme Court, and you're going like, well, why is that? Well, there's a lot of reasons why. And if you want to fight the swamp, if you want to break the cycle of that conflict of interest, so to speak, in our government that we already have
from the Washington elites,
you definitely do not want to see a sitting senator or a congressman be nominated for that seat. And that's why I'm against Trey Gowdy and Cruz being nominated. As much as they are fighters and true conservatives and love this nation and are hardline constitutionalists,
well, Trey Gowdy,
I would not want to see that come to be.
Trey Gowdy is the rain cloud that never rains. He thunders, but he never pours. He never gets to the bottom of anything.
No, he doesn't. That's what bothers me about him.
And he's two-faced. One day he's on their side, the next day he's on our side.
It's tough.
And they pick a side.
It's tough.
I don't know if he's two-faced, but I think he's got a law background, so it's hard to,
which makes it even worse.
Right. Well, but when you have a law background and you are a constitutionalist, you kind of you fall back to that. So in some of these things that he talks about, I think that he falls back to what the law and the Constitution and our Bill of Rights say.
Well, and then again, you just don't know. I mean, look how corrupted our DOJ, FBI, you name it. Look how corrupted it is. You think, how can he prosecute anybody when it's so one-sided over there? I mean, there might be a reason for that, right? It might not be his fault.
It's true.
The FBI can indict a ham sandwich, but apparently Trey Gowdy, can't indict Hillary when the server has been,
delivered on a silver tray.
Right, it's right there in front of you. So it does bother me. But listen, the bottom line is the Democrats. Donald Trump could say, "I'm putting up Chuck Schumer," and they're gonna try to resist.
Yeah.
I'm serious.
No, not in that case. Not in that case.
Well, you know what I mean.
I know.
You know what I mean.
I know.
They're gonna fight back at all costs. It's always resist. They're always obstructing, and that's the bottom line with them. So, but anyway, folks, listen. Come on back. We're gonna have Doug Giles. He's the creator of Clash Daily. He's gonna be coming on with us, and we're gonna be talking about the violence coming from the left. Maxine Waters, this guy in Texas that threw his drink at this Trump supporter, was a teenager, all of that. Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now, and Stimulating Talk. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck on 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, WJJF on your FM dial. Chet Martin, Breault and CV Berton at the helm. Connecticut, Long Island, and Rhode Island, you are rocking with the best out here, of course. And we'd like to welcome our featured guest to the program. He's the creator of ClashDaily.com, host of Clash TV and Clash Radio, and author of Rules for Radical Christians, Mr. Doug Giles. Doug, first of all, I'm a huge fan, and it's an absolute honor to have you on Freedom on Deck.
Gentlemen, thanks for having me, man.
So let's get into your new podcast that's launched, which is called Warriors and Wild Men. What's that all about, man?
I got sick of watching and listening to the radical feminists just disparage men and masculinity and call anything about the God-blessed testosterone fog that emanates in a classical sense, men being providers, protectors, hunters, and heroes. I got tired of them trashing it. And me and my buddy were kicking around an idea when we were hunting deep in the heart of Texas about launching a podcast that cheers on, these classical masculine traits that are getting, pissed on right now by the radical feminists. And we did a soft launch. We didn't know if anybody'd rock up. We just we just started the keg party, and that was 500,000 downloads later.
Wow.
And so now it's getting serious, and not that we have never been serious about, bolstering the boys and, cheering them on to be, again, that provider, protector, hunter, and hero instead of some latte-sipping metrosexual who wears skinny jeans and sports a deep V-neck T-shirt and a man bun, which I also call a douche knot.
Don't forget the flannel.
So where does everybody go to listen to the podcast? Can they just go to ClashDaily.com or what?
No, warriorsandwildmen.com, and
Okay.
we just launched the man card, and this thing's made out of metal.
Yeah.
And it's got our logo, skull, and 2 microphones, and it says courage, character, and legacy. And we tell the dudes who buy it, it's $25. We tell the guys that buy it that anytime you do something epic for freedom, family, flag, and the faith, take a hammer and a frickin' chisel or a screwdriver and beat the crap out of it. And then at the end of the year, we want to see these cards that are completely destroyed for people standing up for that which is holy, just, and good.
And the book, the new book, is, it's got a provocative title, Rules for Radical Christians. What's that book all about, Doug?
Yeah, it's, I'm a Christian. I know people don't think it, especially my Catholic brothers and some of my effete evangelical hosts that think that I have a mouth of a stevedore, but I am. And I never would have thought I would become a Christian because my whole dream was sex, drugs, and rock and roll and frickin' fast muscle cars.
Right.
But God had his way and drug me into his kingdom. And I got tired of hearing these whiners talk about how bad it is and how it's never been this bad and how Jesus must be coming because it's so bad. And so I started digging around the scriptures like, it's been bad before, like in plagues and world wars
Right.
and communist purges and stuff. So I found in the book of Daniel where Daniel and his 3 amigos were in a Babylonian, overtly wicked environment that makes America still kind of look like an Amish hamlet and makes the most corrupt leaders pale in comparison to Nebuchadnezzar. And these 4 dudes, man, they rose to a place of prominence and influence through 10 particular disciplines. So anyway, I served that up in a nice Doug style and put it across the net of the Christians. It's written for young people. It's like if you commit yourself to excellence and you commit yourself to mastery and discipline, then you know what? All these morons and stuff that screw our nation up, there's going to be some wise people that are going to ask for your opinion. But you've got to do it. You got to start young. You've got to excel in science and understanding worldviews and the literature and the language of your culture. You got to have a servant's heart. You got to have a discerning mind. In other words, you got to be frickin' on game. And if you are, then you position yourself in politics, in entertainment, in education, the arts, etc. For places of power and influence instead of just, carrying around the end of the world sign and schlepping from one cover dish dinner to Christian rock concert.
We have from Clash Daily, Doug Giles on the line with us. Doug, the left has always used bully tactics, but it's really become out of control since the election of Trump, with these celebrities leading the way and calling for violence. We've seen Peter Fonda calling for Barron Trump to be thrown in a cage with pedophiles. We saw this guy in Texas that was in the Whataburger. He goes up to the teenager Trump supporter with the MAGA hat and throws the drink on him. Where is this violence leading to? And do you think that in part folks like Maxine Waters are to blame for this, Doug?
Yeah, well, Mad Maxine, she's definitely a fire stoker. I mean, you saw that stem winder she did in California on the curb the other day. Like, confront them if you see them out getting gasoline or getting a hamburger. Get in their face, confront them. It's like, don't try that in Texas, because, like that kid, the Whataburger, that I'm telling you what, man, if that was my kid, oh my gosh. First of all, like both of my daughters were the first Gracie Valenti black belts in the world. They would have beat that guy's ass, man. The first time he would have reached across the table and violated their space, he would have been arm barred on that table. And like in my book, Raising Righteous and Rowdy Girls, and this applies to sons now because we're in such a volatile environment. Parents, you have failed if your kids don't know how to stomp major butt if they have to.
Yeah, Doug, I can agree. I can agree with that. But this kid obviously, he was a little. I don't want to say a dweeb, but he was a little. Yeah, no, I mean, he was a 16-year-old kid, a skinny kid, and this guy's 31. I mean,
I'm a skinny kid too, or I used to be, and I'm still pretty good shape for 55. But I'm telling you what, man, when I was young and dumb and skinny, and I got into altercations with guys that were bigger than me, I'd always do the head fake with like, "Sir, please don't pick on me." And then I'd grab a beer mug and smash them over the head with it when they were looking the other direction.
Still, it shows that he was a coward for picking on people that were much smaller than him.
Oh, it's disgusting, man. But going back to your point about Maxine and the volatile rhetoric of the left, listen, violence, and you guys know this, violence has always been part and parcel of the Marxist-Leninist philosophy. Their ideas are unpalatable. They're specious. Everywhere they've been played, they've been tried and found grossly wanting. And the only way to subject, the poor proletariat to, the ways of the leaders of these social environments has always been through violence. People all the time say, well, the Bible leads to violence. You can't compare any of the Crusades or any of the Inquisitions and their violence to the insane stuff that we saw in the 20th century through communist Russia, through Nazi Germany, or through the Khmer Rouge. We're talking about the liquidation of over 100 million people. Yep. And that's what they go to. Because, again, they're not, if you look from a prima facie standpoint in regards to even what Bill Clinton and James Carville said back in the early 90s, that the key to whether a president's succeeding or not is always economic. It's the economy, stupid. And Trump is killing it in the economy. We got more jobs than there are people out of work now, according to CNBC. That's not according to Fox News.
Right.
And so they see him destroying and dismantling Obama's anti-American legacy. They see Kim Jong-il denuclearizing, or at least in the talks of it, something that never been even seen what happened between North and South Korea in 65 years. And they don't know how to handle it. And so they can't fight him on a policy standpoint. They've got to go to, confront, shame, demonize, show up at their house. I'm telling you what, man, you get a bunch of morons frickin' rocking up on my little 3-acre plot in Texas, and they step on my property, they're going to get shot.
Absolutely.
But that's them going high, right, Doug?
Yeah.
And I think that chick that climbed the Statue of Liberty, didn't she say Michelle Obama was encouraging that? Melania Trump would never encourage that kind of crap. And thank God for Melania, because she's making America classy again.
Oh, you're talking about that Congolese that went on top of the Statue of Liberty and shut it down on the 4th of July. Unbelievable.
Yeah, can you imagine, man, if I took, my family, my grandkids, drop a couple of G's on airfare to New York and a stay in Manhattan, another couple of G's, spend a few weeks, see the Statue of Liberty, and all that stuff gets crapped on because ICE. You got to be kidding me. And here's the upshot of all this, man, is that people who are apolitical. I mean, nobody wants to be a Republican. Who wants to be a dork wearing a blue blazer and a red tie and khaki pants? Not me.
Right, exactly.
But they see what the left does, and they're like, this is insanity. Maxine Waters is the spearhead to the Nancy Pelosi shaft, and Bernie deranged Sanders is your zeitgeist. Listen, I don't know much about politics, but I'm steering my happy bus center right, and I encourage the left and Maxine to just blather on, keep talking, keep doing all this stupid crap, keep throwing cokes in kids' face because America gets it. And America is mobilized through the Trump revolution, probably like nothing I've ever seen, guys, and I lived through the Reagan Revolution.
Hey, Doug, shouldn't the mainstream media be held responsible for ginning up this kind of violence?
Well, of course they should, but, it's Pravda, and unfortunately the majority of the cameras are at the behest of, these radical leftists. But, month after month, quarter after quarter, guess whose ratings suck? Theirs do.
Yeah.
It was so bad, man. We floated on our ClashDaily.com store CNN toilet paper, and we're selling that stuff.
I saw that, and I did order. I have to tell you.
Listen,
yeah,
I can put it right by my Obama toilet paper.
Now put it in your guest bathroom and order some snowflakes, or invite some snowflakes over, man. Watch them melt.
Doug, the best meme I saw this week was it's a picture of the Statue of Liberty, and she says, "So there I was minding my own business, and a Democrat starts climbing all over me and touching me inappropriately. Hashtag me too."
Right.
See, that's great. And here's where and look, a lot of the guys on the right definitely get it. The meme aspect, the art, the derision, the pre-talk before we came on the show is like, hey, we're going to talk about this and how ridiculous it is. And it's like, yeah, I mean, guys, if we were writers for Saturday Night Live and we were to get a couple of big bottles of vodka and some cigars and try to write what they actually do, I don't think we could come up with it. And it just shows how just absolutely the people on the left, their leaders, are more unhinged than a stuck door at Chuck Norris's house.
Doug, you've raised two outstanding children. We actually had Regis on recently, and she was promoting her new book. When you see these kids that are aligned with the March for Our Lives, which to me is left-wing extremism, it's funded by George Soros. Do you feel bad for these kids for being so misguided, or do you think that they actually have evil in their heart?
I'm kind of torn between two opinions on that one. They're definitely a product of the public school system, and I tell parents all the time. So I do stuff on conferences and things on raising kids and stuff, not your typical ones. And I tell them if you hate your child, send them to a public school because they've got them for 8 hours a day. And I'm not disparaging all teachers. My wife, teacher for 17 years in some of the toughest schools in West Broward County, South Florida. However, from an overarching standpoint, from an agenda standpoint, they don't give a flibberty gibbet whether your kids can do reading, writing, and arithmetic. What they want to do is re-educate them, deconstruct America, deconstruct our founders, push a socialist agenda, and they get big money from the government. I can't wait for Trump to, begin to take his axe and chop away at that kind of crap. Yep. So they are a product of the machine. They think they're so radical, but they're just a cog in the socialist wheel. So to some extent, I'll cut on some slack. However, I'm a big proponent, and I push this in my book, Pussification, of personal responsibility. Listen, if I'm a dumbass, if I got deceived, if I'm believing something that's bogus, that's never worked in any nation that it's been tried, then it's on me. I can blame mommy and daddy and the teacher, who made me star as Peter Pan in my third grade play. But at the end of the day, I've got to make decisions. I've got to be judicious. I've got to have discernment, and I've got to be reasonable with my worldview. And if it's crap, then, ultimately it's on me.
Doug, I think it's a good way to end it, with those words. Now, tell everybody where they can go and check you out, the book, and also the new podcast, please.
Yeah, the main stomping ground is clashdaily.com, and they can find all my wares at our store there, and we've got some great products. And the podcast is warriorsandwildmen.com.
Excellent, excellent, everybody. That was the creator of Clash Daily, Mr. Doug Giles himself. I'm sure he'll be coming back with us in the future. But coming up next,
we're going to be going a little bit of Danbury, Connecticut. You don't want to miss it. Don't turn the dial. Freedom on deck. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk, WJJF. We're going to be talking a little local Connecticut news. Now, this is a weird story, okay? Really weird story. We're going to be talking about an illegal immigrant, man wanted for deportation, okay? Ran into the road and was hit by a driver on Friday morning. After further investigation by Danbury police, they learned Samuel Coctacon Cruz was wanted for a deportation warrant and fled from ICE agents in front of the Superior Courthouse. A Danbury officer and an unmarked car witnessed the disturbance in front of the courthouse. Cruz continued to flee the scene after being struck by the car, not hard enough. The driver who struck Cruz was left with minor injuries from the crash. What is interesting about this is he runs from ICE agents, which is a federal agency. He has a warrant for his arrest. This now makes him a fugitive of the law. And if you hit a fugitive of the law, could you be brought up on charges?
Well, the ACLU of Connecticut, the American Civil Liberties Union, issued a strong statement accusing Federal Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agents of jeopardizing public safety in the apprehension of this dirtbag in Danbury. ICE agents jeopardized this man's life and public safety by chasing him into the street.
Unbelievable.
And they undermined public safety and justice by using the Danbury courthouse as a hunting ground for deportation. The Trump administration's vicious practice of picking up immigrants at courthouses is dangerous and unjust. It threatens public safety and subverts justice by making it harder for Connecticut residents to exercise their constitutional rights to access protection, call witnesses, offer testimony, settle custody matters, and seek
redress.
Listen, here's the thing, man. These are criminals. They're not American citizens. They're not protected underneath the Constitution. Stop draping them in the flag and pretending they're Americans. They're not.
The Supreme Court has already said that they do not have the same rights as a citizen of this country. Bottom line. Bottom line. And the fact that he's running from ICE agents, don't sit here, ACLU, and sit here and try to make the ICE agents the ones that are, carrying out some sort of crime or acting inappropriately. Because that's not the case.
Mm-hmm.
This guy is illegal and shouldn't be here. He gets picked up and then he runs.
Well, the left wants to abolish ICE, period.
Too bad they
right?
didn't have them shackled.
Which open borders, just unlawful country that we would have if they had their way.
Do you know what kind of heroin epidemic that we have in this country?
In Connecticut, in Long Island. Are you kidding me?
Do you know that a majority of it is coming through Canada? Do you know that ICE agents stop a lot of drug traffic that comes through this country? It's not all about people jumping the border.
I'd like to know Mayor Mark.
It's
I'd like to know Mayor Mark Boughton's position on this. Who's running for governor in Connecticut? Republican is what I would call him. Republicuck.
Right, but it's immigration and customs enforcement.
Let them do their job.
Here's the weird part of the story. The guy ran out into the street being chased by ICE agents, got hit by a car, and then continued running away, but the driver of the car got injured. How does that work? What does the guy weigh, 350 pounds?
He went through the windshield.
If he came from Mexico, he might weigh 350 pounds.
No, I saw a picture of the guy. He looks like a crackhead. He went through the windshield.
Well, anyway, the ACLU doesn't have a leg to stand on legally. They can write a strongly worded letter if they want. But if you're enforcing the law, you're enforcing the law. If you have a problem with the law, go to Congress and tell them to change the law.
The more you have politicians, leftist politicians throughout Connecticut, in New York, throughout all these liberal states, basically saying that they want to disband ICE, yeah, they do have a leg to stand on. Listen, we're going to have Trevor Loudon on. What's he going to talk about? He's going to be talking about the communist infiltration into the Democrat Party. People better wake up, man. People really better start waking up. Don't be so comfortable and sitting on your laurels in this election coming up in 2018 and in 2020. Listen, am I confident? Yes, I am, because the country's doing very well under President Trump. But don't think that it can't go the other way. It can. And you better make sure that you do something about it.
Trump is campaigning pretty hard, just like he did when he ran. And so, and things are going his way when it comes to, candidates being elected in the primaries and whatnot.
You just saw at one of his rallies, 60% of the crowd there was Democratic. 60% were Democrats. Wow. Okay? So he ain't playing this time around. Trust me.
Yeah, he knows what's at stake, and he's working really hard. This guy has more energy than I tend.
It's not about that. It's about what the left is trying to push. Donald Trump is one man. If we don't have the full backing of Republicans throughout Connecticut, New York, and throughout the country, then we will lose. We need them to back this man and this agenda. It's American first.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Listen, when we come back, we're going to be bringing on Trevor Loudon, author and director of The Enemies Within. And we're going to be talking about communist infiltration of the Democrat Party and the rigging of elections down south. Don't go anywhere. This is Freedom on Deck. Welcome back to Freedom on Deck on 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. Connecticut, Long Island, and Rhode Island, you're rocking with the best WJJF on your FM dials. I am Mean Chet Martin, joined as always by Brian Breault and CV Berton. Make sure you go to Facebook, like us there, follow us on Twitter, go to BitChute, subscribe to our channel. You can listen to our midweek podcast there. You can also listen to all the archives, to all the interviews that we have there. And you can also go to YouTube and listen there, even though they kind of shadow ban us a little bit over there. But you could do that too. Listen, it's been over 2 years since the next guest has appeared on the program. Trevor Loudon is an author, filmmaker, and public speaker from Christchurch, New Zealand. For over 30 years, Trevor has researched radical left, Marxist, and terrorist movements and their covert influence on mainstream politics. Trevor is currently putting out his new film with director Jude Saul, Enemies Within the Church, and in 2016, Trevor released the hit political documentary, The Enemies Within. Trevor, welcome back to Freedom on Deck, sir.
Hey, look, it's great to be on. Thanks for having me. We shouldn't leave it so long next time.
Well, no, we shouldn't, and I've been meaning to get you back on. Now, did I say the director's name right? What's the director's name?
It's actually Judd.
Okay, Judd Saul. Okay, and you're working on this new documentary that will be coming out, The Enemies Within the Church, and I can't wait to see more about that.
It'll shock a lot of people, I think.
And it's going to really kind of tie communism into the Catholic Church, yeah?
Well, not just the Catholic Church. Obviously, we'll talk about the Pope and some of the people around him, but the mainstream Protestant churches have had this problem for a long time. But what is really tragic is that the evangelical churches, who have been pretty pure up till now, are getting subverted by the Marxists big time. They're the young evangelicals who once would have voted for Ronald Reagan and supported Israel are now supporting Bernie Sanders in Palestine. There's a real shift amongst the young evangelicals, particularly.
Sickening. Now, Trevor,
it's dangerous because I'll be the church leaders in 10 years' time.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the Rainbow Conspiracy and the Socialist Democrat Party operative, Steve Phillips. And they're using his wealth and influence to destroy the Republican Party's southern base. Who is Steve Phillips, and what is he up to, Trevor?
Look, Steve Phillips started life, his career as a young Maoist radical at Stanford University in the 80s. He was a Marxist-Leninist. He was associated with the League of Revolutionary Struggle, which was a pro-China Maoist group. And he was a big part of Jesse Jackson's Rainbow Coalition. He was a West Coast organizer. And Jesse Jackson had the bright idea that he ran on this in 1984 and 1988. He had the bright idea of uniting progressive whites, progressive blacks, progressive Latinos, progressive gays, progressive Asian Americans, Native Americans. So you had a rainbow. You had white, black, brown, green, lavender, red, the Rainbow Coalition. And he got 7 million votes with that in 1988. And it was complete Maoist-run operation, completely run by pro-Chinese communists. And Steve Phillips really learned a lot. And in the early 90s, he married he became a lawyer in San Francisco, a big-time Democrat, and he married into the very wealthy Sandler family. Now, they are big liberal donors. They're worth about $2.8 billion. They fund the Center for American Progress, the Democracy Alliance, and a whole bunch of left-wing causes. So what that did was give this young Maoist radical access to millions and millions of dollars. And so what he has spent his time doing is getting behind candidates of color and building up their careers. He was the first man to give Barack Obama $10 million to get him started in 2008. He funded Mazie Hirono, the senator from Hawaii, Tulsi Gabbard, the congresswoman from Hawaii, and a whole bunch of others around the country. But what he's doing now is he's using that money and the money of George Soros and a few other people to do massive voter registration drives in 5 southern states. They are putting millions of dollars and thousands of people on the ground in North Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Arizona, and Texas. And they are signing up hundreds of thousands of black, Latino, Muslim voters who don't normally vote. Now, this is how these people turned Virginia from a red state to a blue state. They are the ones who were behind the election victory of Doug Jones, the Democrat senator in Alabama against Roy Moore. And they were behind the massive victories of Benjamin Jealous and Stacey Abrams in the Maryland and Georgia Democratic primaries. And their aim is to basically use the modern Rainbow Coalition to flip Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Arizona in this election cycle. And they are well on the way to doing it. And if they do that, the Republicans lose the House in 2018, and Donald Trump loses the presidency in 2020. And they have already got their presidential candidates lined up to do the job. And if that happens, this country is in huge trouble. The Republican Party will be finished.
Trevor, let's go to Georgia for a second. The left is taking Stacey Abrams' gubernatorial bid extremely seriously. They're treating her race as a national race. And you say that we should as well. She received more votes than both Republican candidates in their primary combined. Is Georgia really in play?
Look, it's not guaranteed, but she's got a great chance. She's got she has signed up a couple of 100,000 new voters in that state. And that's more than enough to win a gubernatorial race. And she just beat her primary opponent, she's a black Democrat. She beat a white Democrat who was favored to win. She beat her 77 to 23. 77 points to 23. So she's on track. And she's getting several $1 million from Steve Phillips and his friends to do massive voter registration drives. See, Georgia is trending blue anyway because it's got a big black and a very large and growing Latino population,
right?
Who will vote Democrat. But normally they don't vote very much. But they have been putting huge amounts of effort into getting those Democrat voters, those what they call low propensity Democrat voters. So Stacey Abrams says it well, the Democrats waste millions of dollars going after a few swing voters in the middle. And they ignore their massive untapped black, Latino, Asian American, Muslim American base. Stacey Abrams says it's a lot easier. Why waste your time trying to make atheists into Catholics? Just get the Baptists going to church. And she's right. And that's her strategy. And it worked well in Virginia. It worked great in Alabama. And it just won her an amazing primary race in Georgia. And so she's on track.
Now, Trevor, explain exactly what the new Virginia majority is and how are they working with and getting information supplied by a communist Chinese university? Are Democrats working directly with China to rig the 18 elections?
Well, there are numerous communist Chinese ties to this movement, and one of them is happening in Virginia. And you named the organization New Virginia Majority, and they sort of work like an acorn group. They get out there and they sign up hundreds of thousands of voters, legally, illegally, whatever. Most of these groups have been accused of vote fraud from time to time. And it's run by a Maoist guy, a guy called John List, who's a member of the Freedom Road Socialist Organization, a Maoist communist group. And one of his co-directors is on Steve Phillips' board. So the money is coming from Steve Phillips, at least part of the money. So what they do is they've signed up about 300,000 new voters in Northern Virginia. They worked with Terry McAuliffe, the governor, to enable felons to vote in Virginia. They got 200,000 felons voting, and they actually gave Terry McAuliffe an award for doing that at their dinner. Yeah. So that's about 400,000 new Democratic voters, and they have now basically tipped Virginia into a blue state. Now, to do that, you've got to be very scientific about your targeting, in which neighborhoods you enroll, which apartment blocks you go to, where you're going to find the most unregistered Democrats, that kind of thing. And they are getting that information from a Chinese university, Wuhan University, where you have another Freedom Road socialist communist working, a guy called Steve McClure, who's been working in their geography department for several years now. And he supplies them all the maps, the micro-targeted maps that they then use to go out and register voters. Now, it's pretty hard to believe that the Chinese authorities don't know this is going on, because this guy has been doing, a foreigner has been doing this out of their university for several years now. And you know what they're like monitoring foreigners over there. So they know, and they're not stopping them. And these networks are all pro-Chinese, all pro-Chinese communists. So there's hard evidence that the Chinese communists are using American communists to flip American elections. And they've already flipped Virginia pretty much. And now they're going after Florida and Georgia and Arizona. And they only have to flip one or two of those, and it's bye-bye.
You know, Trevor, we have Trevor Loudon, author, speaker, filmmaker. Trevor, you know, this is real collusion. The left pushes the narrative that Trump worked with the Russians to rig the election. Now, with everything that you're reporting on and exposing, why is it that more of the mainstream right, Fox News and others, the Blaze, you name it, won't also expose what the left are attempting to do here, Trevor?
Well, I think this is all very new to them. I'm the only one writing about this stuff. This rainbow conspiracy stuff. I've been studying this for about 4 years now, and I've been through their archives. I've done all sorts of research. But this is, just like when we exposed Obama in the 2008. I was the first one to expose his ties to the communists, and the mainstream media took even the conservative media took a year or two to catch up on it. Some of them still would dispute that Obama was a Marxist,
Right.
And so they're either too moderate for their own good, too scared to be labelled extreme, or they're behind the eight ball, or they get embarrassed when they get scooped. So, but it is. I've done a lot of interviews on this. It is circulating out there, and I think it'll be very common knowledge soon, especially when I put my book out. But there is. Look, the American communists, and I've written in other articles too. These people around Steve Phillips, they've organised nearly 50,000 American communists to infiltrate and take over the Democratic Party. And you are seeing this. We saw that woman who got elected in New York recently beat Joe Crowley.
Mm-hmm.
The big shock and horror. A socialist wins an election in New York. They have been, that is the tip of the iceberg. They have got hundreds of people in power across the country through the Democratic Party ticket. The Communist Party has been working in Connecticut for years. They've got both of your senators in their pockets and 3 of your Congress members. So this is nothing new. This is just starting to come out to the public view now.
Well, Trevor, we're going to have to get you back on soon because we are running up and out of time. But tell everybody where they can go check you out, please, and just give us that information, sir.
Yeah, look, go to my daily blog, trevorloudon.com. That's trevorloudon.com. I've also got a movie out there. Go to enemieswithinmovie.com, enemieswithinmovie.com, and that'll show you, we say there's about 100 members of the U.S. House and about 20 members of the U.S. Senate, including both Murphy and the other guy in Connecticut, I've just forgotten his name, who couldn't pass
Blumenthal.
any form of security. Blumenthal. Couldn't pass any form of security clearance whatsoever. They're so involved in Marxist groups or Islamist groups, or actually connected to hostile foreign powers to such a degree they wouldn't be allowed to drive a school bus. But they are serving in your Congress and your Senate right now.
Unbelievable.
This is nothing new, people. This is an ongoing infiltration that goes very deep.
Everybody, that was Trevor Loudon. Please go check him out and check out The Enemies Within. We're going to be coming back. Next topic, if your kids play a game called Roblox, you might want to get them off of it because there were 2 avatars depicted in gang raping another avatar on the game. 7-year-old girl was playing it at the time. Come back to Freedom on Deck.
Welcome back to Freedom on Deck, 94.9 News Now with stimulating talk. Sick stuff going on in our world, man. Seems like it's the theme of our show. Always talking about the stuff that nobody else wants to talk about. Nobody else wants to report on.
Well,
this is creepy, man. I mean, I never even heard of this game. Roblox.
Yeah,
My
my kids.
Roblox.
Roblox. Big game, big platform.
Listen, North Carolina mom is warns the public, okay, of this video game. Her daughter, or I should say her 7-year-old daughter, Amber Peterson, was lounging in bed with her 7-year-old daughter last week, watching her play a popular kids video game, Roblox, on her iPad when she saw a disturbing display on the screen. Her confused daughter, Brooklyn, paused and showed her mom the screen, which Peterson says showed a female avatar, which was being played by her daughter, being violently gang raped on a virtual playground by 2 male avatars. Words cannot describe the shock, disgust, and guilt that I am feeling right now, but I am trying to put those feelings aside so I can get this warning out to others as soon as possible, Peterson wrote in a Facebook post. This is sick.
Yeah, and you know what? My kids play this game.
Not anymore.
Tristan, no, not anymore. I took it off all their stuff. It's already been done. It's already been taken off. They are no longer to play this game anymore. But, you know, the whole thing is Roblox put out a statement saying that they're disappointed that this happened. They've located the person that was playing this avatar. But I watched the video. I don't understand
what do you mean playing this avatar?
It
Because
showed
there's 2 or
sexual
3, right?
organs on these people. Like, it showed I don't want to say it. I don't know if I can say it on FM radio, but it showed the wiener of the one guy, and they had the girl held down. It's weird.
And then the other guy was forcing her to do other things,
right?
oral sex and stuff.
And before seeing this news story, I've seen my kids' video game Roblox that they play, and I've never seen anything like this on there. It's very bizarre to me.
Well, obviously they got hacked.
Well, perhaps.
I don't know. This is the dirty underbelly of the internet, and they had every children's safety measure activated on this game, and it still didn't work. I don't know how these people are getting in there. I don't know how, like you said, I don't know how they have organs, male organs
That's what I
programmed
saw.
into the game.
I watched the video. That's what they had. I'm telling you.
I don't know. It's crazy, man. It is just, the whole thing just is very bizarre to me.
It is bizarre. But listen, we're going to come back with Peter Strzok. He might not comply with the subpoena against him. If you're a leftist, obviously the law doesn't prohibit to you. Come back to Freedom on Deck.
Time to play the game!
Yeah, Peter Strzok better get it scared. He better. Because I'll tell you right now, the axe is going to fall. And it is going to fall upon the Obama administration and all the people that were underneath him. And I'm telling you, the game will be over. And Donald Trump is going to make sure it happens. Peter Strzok, the FBI intelligence spy, counterintelligence agent, caught up and a political firestorm over anti-Trump text that he exchanged during the 2016 presidential race might not comply with a recent subpoena issued by two powerful House committees, according to his attorney. My client will testify soon, somewhere, sometime, lawyer Anton Goldman told CNN Quis Cuomo on Tuesday night. We just got this subpoena today, so I don't know whether or not we are going to be testifying next Tuesday in front of these two particular House subcommittees. However, Goldman hesitated to respond with a direct yes when asked if Strzok would comply with the subpoena. He said he and Strzok had come to the conclusion that this is not a search for truth. It is a chance for Republican members of the House to preen and posture before their most radical, conspiracy-minded constituents. Can you say basket of deplorables? Because that right there is going to be the nail in that lawyer's coffin.
Meanwhile, Paul Manafort is held into solitary confinement for 23 hours a day over Trump charges. Nothing.
Yeah.
Didn't commit a crime. Had nothing to do with supposed Russian collusion with the Trump campaign. But Mr. Mueller, or as you guys like to call him, Mr. Mueller, which I get, this Democrat donkey Mueller, I get it. But Mr. Mueller, so I'll say it because you guys like that, is coming up with trumped-up charges with anybody that was involved with President Trump. They could indict a ham sandwich, as I like to say, and I said that previously on the show.
Yep.
Paul Manafort is being treated like an absolute piece of trash right now. 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. How is this happening in this country right now? How is this deep state dirtbag Mueller doing this? How's he getting away with this?
Because he's got a whole agency at his disposal.
And Strzok and Gums McGee, there are still text messages that we haven't seen from them yet.
30,000 text messages.
What the hell's going on here?
It was crazy.
Struck. You should be struck by lightning. But this proves the animosity that they have for Trump supporters. You know, saying this gives the Intelligence Committee a chance to preen and posture, in front of their, constituency.
Their constituents.
Yeah.
Right.
Their radical constituency, yeah.
Conspiracy-minded constituency.
Yeah.
And, see, that's the way that the left plays it. They have to delegitimize his supporters. And the problem here is it's not a conspiracy. There's evidence. There is text messages.
Enough
They're
to put this
there.
guy in jail.
Okay, they're there. That's not a conspiracy.
House
It's
Democrats,
not a conspiracy.
they're accusing Republican counterparts of leading a partisan witch hunt against Strzok and the FBI. A partisan
What the
witch
heck
hunt?
is what?
Like what they're doing against Trump
What
is
is
not
it
a partisan.
What is
witch hunt?
this? You're calling a partisan a partisan? I don't understand here. Yeah. What are we doing here? We're calling tomato sauce ragu? We're calling, what are we doing here? I don't get it. We're calling stars planets? What are we talking about here? You guys are as guilty as sin. What we have seen is evidence that you helped Hillary Clinton along the way via these texts so that she wouldn't get indicted. But in the same vein, the text that you were putting out when the Trump investigation went on about Russian collusion showed that you were trying to nail him for something that he did not do. It's
Right.
all there, and it's in a timeline. And Trey Gowdy, if you watch his grilling of the IG, you will see that there is a timeline that supports what I just said.
Yeah.
All you have to do is go and look at it for yourself. You can do it on YouTube. So if you think that I'm lying, go see what Trey Gowdy says. Go see what Jim Jordan says when he was able to grill the IG about all this.
And
then tell me that I'm making crap up, because I'm not. This is embarrassing. And I can't believe this is happening in the United States of America.
Well, look, and it just came out, okay, that Loretta Lynch and the Bill Clinton meeting on the tarmac was set up by the FBI and Secret Service. It's factual. That is part of the evidence. And they even have the emails and the correspondence between the two agencies, and the FBI saying to the DOJ, Loretta Lynch, that this is really not a good idea, that this does not look good, and they went forward with it anyway. So there is that evidence. But that's all conspiracy, right? It's all conspiracy.
Well, it's amazing to me that can happen, Brian. And were the left that confident that this flawed candidate in Hillary Clinton was going to win? Because they had to be. Because look at how right now, whether or not the mainstream media is putting this information out to the folks and the listeners of our show, or just the everyday Americans out there, whether or not they're telling you the truth is known. Anybody that gives a rat's rear end knows what's going on here. And the FBI has been corrupted in such a way that now all the criminals that were involved with the Obama administration, involved with the Clinton Foundation, have gotten away with murder. And you're seeing somebody like Paul Manafort or anybody involved with Trump charged with things they never did, and held in contempt, held in a cage, for God's sakes. Not literally.
Well, here
but this is what's happening.
You have Strzok, who is a high-level FBI official who was heading up the Hillary Clinton investigation, and came out and flat out said that they were going to stop Donald Trump from winning. He admitted it, and then they're offended because his lawyers offended that they want to haul him in front of Congress and question him. I want to find out how much Obama was involved in this. That's where it all ends up.
Well, they said in the text that Obama wanted to know everything.
That's right. That's right. Nobody's talking about
Hello?
that. Nobody's talking about that.
And then it was Strzok that told Gums McGee, Mrs. Page, that they were just trying to get through the motions with Hillary. Remember that?
Yeah.
They said they were just trying to get through it so that they could move on to the Trump investigation with Russia, which never happened. And this was all a planned out. I don't know if they knew that maybe somebody would get a hold of these texts, but from what I've read, when they talk about the Trump investigation, it looks like maybe they did think that. I'm not sure.
And then
But
we just found
it's
out
very
recently,
disturbing.
Then we just found out recently that there was no official Hillary Clinton investigation at all about her emails. There was no official investigation at all. That's why she was never sworn in when she was questioned. And Comey wasn't even there when it happened, and it wasn't recorded.
Nothing was recorded.
I don't even know if notes were even taken.
No, there were no notes taken.
What a scam.
Well, it is such a scam, isn't it? There was no recordings, no notes taken. It basically didn't happen.
No investigation.
What do you think they did? They probably brought her in. Hillary, do you want some green tea? What do you want? Some chai? Some green tea? A coffee? What is it, Hillary? Probably had a coffee with him and said, "Yeah, you're free to go." That's it.
The server wasn't even looked at by the FBI.
Well, here's the thing that ticks me off about it is that on no evidence whatsoever, you have people that have been indicted, or well, put it this way, no evidence that has been presented to a grand jury. That you have people indicted and people that are now in jail, okay? But with an entire dump truck full of evidence, not one person has been charged with Hillary Clinton smashing cell phones with hammers, taking the SIM cards out of phones. I mean, completely tampering with evidence, not complying with handing over emails. The list goes on, and not one arrest. Not one.
Not one.
Not Uber. Aberdeen, nothing.
And what about Seth Rich dying after he was the one that leaked the emails to...
he was the whistleblower.
He was the whistleblower that leaked it to WikiLeaks.
And the server not even examined by the FBI.
And what about this? When there were missing emails, that Hillary Clinton, that they never found, why was there a big fire that happened in Chappaqua with at Hillary and Bill's house? Remember that big fire they had in the back?
Yeah.
I remember that.
What was that all about?
A big bonfire.
You think really though? You think that's kind of coincidental? How the hell can that happen when there are missing emails and nobody talks about it?
Well, thank God for people like Nunes and Jim Jordan who are bringing Rosenstein up on charges of contempt, and hopefully he'll be impeached.
And Ted Cruz.
Hopefully.
And Ted Cruz.
That's listen, that's the only thing we have apparently is hope, because the other side has plenty to be thankful for. Plenty to be thankful for. They're seeing the corruption that they've led come to fruition.
Listen, we're going to come back to Freedom on Deck. We've actually talked about this a little bit today with one of our guests, Doug Giles. But Kino Jimenez, who was the attacker for the teenage Trump supporter. Oh, I've got some information on this guy. You guys aren't going to believe it. Come back to Freedom on Deck.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Freedom on Deck. 94.9 News Now and Stimulating Talk. This is Final Thoughts. You already know what we're going to be talking about. You've seen it on the radio. On the news. You're hearing it on the radio right now. This jackass, and that's what he was, goes into a Whataburger and assaults a 16-year-old wearing a MAGA hat. And not only does he assault him, he throws this kid's food in his face, his drink, takes the hat off his head,
Punk.
curses him out, walks out. And what a tough guy. Because he's like twice as big as this kid.
Right.
At least.
Right.
What a tough guy.
Yeah, he's so tough.
Real coward.
Yeah, he's a typical leftist that feels that it's okay to attack someone that's smaller than him. Either attack a woman or a child, hurt them in some sort of effect. And by the way, he was arrested. He was fired from his job. And when he did take the hat, he actually also pulled the kid by the hair.
And actually pulled a tuft of hair out.
Yes,
when he
did.
Yep.
Yes, he did. And then he threw the kid's beverage at him.
Yeah. The guy's name is
Whataburger.
Kino Jimenez. It's a good German name.
He's actually a ground worker for the Green Party also.
Aha.
Okay, and this is something that I just pulled
I want to
up.
know his status.
Well, he's been let go by the Green Party. The Green Party says they no longer have any ties to Jimenez. So they let him go.
It looks like Jimenez.
Now, Jimenez, his address was released, and when a few, I would say, MAGA supporters went to his house looking for him, it was his...
Oh, he came right outside and fought him, right?
No. Actually, the address that they got was wrong. It was the address of his mother and his two brothers. Now, his brothers...
Oh, his brothers came out and fought.
No.
Oh, so his brothers are spineless cowards as well.
No, I won't say that. His brothers came out, and they said that he's a piece of trash. And they said for their entire life, he picked on them as well. See, he's a bully.
Yeah.
He's been a bully his entire life. Not only did he pick on this kid, but he's picked on people around him for his entire life. So his brothers actually released statements saying that they don't have any involvement with him, and they don't want any involvement with him, and that they don't agree with what he did, and that they used to be picked on him when they were in their youth. So here you go. This guy is just a bully.
They didn't happen to say where he was living now, right?
I don't know all that.
Oh,
I can't tell you.
Oh, he's all those things, but didn't happen to put that out there.
Well, I don't. That's a good point. That's a good point. I mean, but they didn't stand up for him. I'll tell you that. So I mean,
well, because now
take it for what it is.
Well, I mean, if people came to my house after my brother acted the fool and assaulted somebody, and listen, if that kid was wearing a rainbow hat and was gay, and that guy was wearing the MAGA hat and did that to him, how would this go down?
Oh, forget it. He'd be in shackles in 5 minutes. It's funny that you say that. When I called Lee Friday and we were talking about this, he said the same thing. He said, Chet, what if I went into a McDonald's and grabbed a rainbow hat off of a kid that was eating a cheeseburger? What would happen to me?
Right.
I say you'd be arrested in 5 minutes.
That's right.
You'd be charged with a hate crime.
Exactly.
Here's where we're coming to.
How come this ain't a hate crime?
It is a hate crime.
But how come it's not being charged as a hate crime?
It should be. That's the crux of the situation. It should be charged as a hate crime, and we're seeing it count. In Florida, there was another one that came out a day later after this incident where a gentleman that was flying his Trump flag was accosted.
Punched
they
in the
took
face.
his flag.
They punched him right in the face.
And then when he tried to get his flag back, they drug him 300 feet down the road.
That's what I'm saying. Why is it's a hate crime if it's somebody in the LGBT community, or if somebody is Jewish, black,
wait.
Hispanic,
Muslim.
It's not a hate crime.
anything. Hold on. Any of those things. But if you're white and you're wearing a MAGA hat, not a hate crime. You deserve it.
No. It's not a hate crime if your name is Kino Jimenez and you're assaulting somebody named Hunter Richard. Then that's not a hate crime. But I'm big about personal responsibility. But there is a bigger picture here. This is, at the risk of sounding like a broken record, we have to shout at the left stream media and tell them to tone down the freaking rhetoric, because they keep saying that we're less than human, we're Nazis, and Trump is a Hitler, and so anything goes. And then you have Maxine Waters saying, push back at them, make a crowd, push back at them. So this is not a coincidence.
They're not going to.
Right. And it's not a coincidence
Listen.
that it happened, that all these things are starting to happen after they're inciting violence. And let's face facts. She's a congressman. And I'll say congressman because she looks like a man.
Yeah, she does.
She's a rough-looking woman.
She's rough. Her wig. I could say something. I'm not going to. I could say something.
There are a lot of morons. There are a lot of bullies. There are a lot of mentally ill people out there who are living on the fringe of sanity that don't take much to push them over the edge. And when you got the left stream media day in and day out driving it home that we're the racists and we're the Nazis, this is not a coincidence. They want to incite violence.
It dehumanizes you when you're a Trump supporter and they say, well, if he's a Trump supporter, he's a Nazi. What is below a Nazi right now? If they say Brian, Chet, and CV are Nazis, they're dehumanizing us.
That's right.
Right? That's exactly
It's
what they want to
slander.
do.
Just
so
like
what
the
it does,
Nazis did to the Jews.
Hold on. I'm talking. When they do that, they're telling them that it's okay to attack us. And when they tell them that it's okay to attack us, they're telling them it's okay to attack anyone that believes otherwise in what their basically ideology is. So it is a hate crime when they do that.
What?
That's why.
And we are no longer a democracy when people are attacking other people for their beliefs. Simply because they go against what you believe in. There was a day in this country. Now, listen, I'm not saying people haven't disagreed over the years. I'm not saying that we haven't had black times in our society and in our country that were bad things going on in this country. But we've come a long way from that. And to start turning that around and going backwards because you're angry or things aren't going the way that you want them to go is counterproductive to our democracy.
But let's look at the real Nazis. What did the real Nazis do? They went on a propaganda campaign to make people believe that the Jewish people were less than human. So that is what the left are doing. And so they're calling us Nazis? No, they are the true Nazis. The Nazis was a socialist party, by the way. And the Democrat Party today prides themselves on being socialist. Well, and they divide and they divide and divide. And CNN better tone down their rhetoric. Tone it down.
They're not going to tone it. CV, you're screaming in the wilderness. Listen.
We all have to tell them to tone it down. MSNBC, tone it down.
It's not going to happen. Listen to what Trevor Loudon was telling you tonight.
Look, there just has to be some pushback. We all have to, as conservatives, as America First, we all have to tell the MSM to tone down the rhetoric, and that's all I'm saying.
No, I agree with you. And, you know, we're all on the same team. We all have to talk about this rationally and come to our own decisions and figure out how to make America work better. And, of course, 2018 and 2020 is very important. But listen, guys, we've got a great show coming up. We've got Thomas S. Schmitz from PalinForAmerica.com. He's coming on with us. He's one of the regulars. And we also have Michael Green, a former detective from the NYPD, that trains a comfort dog that goes by the name of Miska. And the website is called Miska Blue Lives Matter. She gives comfort to police men and women throughout the country. So I think it's going to be a really great show. Come on back to Freedom on Deck, and everybody have an awesome day.